welcome my friend Wes Schroll. Wes, greetings and welcome to the stage. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. Thanks for having me. Thank you, Team Fed.
So everyone loves a great origin story. And so I'm going to do my best to channel NPR's How I Built This as I ask you this question. Can you please build out the details behind what led you to create the company we now know as Fetch?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I was going to school at University of Wisconsin-Madison and was in between my freshman and sophomore year and had just moved out of a dorm and into an apartment for the first time ever, meaning I actually had to go and do all the grocery shopping for the first time ever. And alongside that was also trying to figure out how do I save my money to get it to stretch as far as possible. And I found myself jumping through all the hoops that were available. I'd have all the weekly circulars laid out on a table in front of me, figure out what store I go to on what day of the week to make sure I was saving.
You have a big keychain with all sorts of...
that's the next thing. You get to the store, you're going to sign up for their loyalty program. You even get home and I'm starting to put away the items and I see there's My Coke rewards, there's Kellogg's rewards, and I start signing up for those. And no one program had any major problems with it. The fact was, though, that you're having to manage across dozens if you wanted to actually maximize your savings. And that for me was really frustrating when those same companies were also then advertising to me on TV or in the national media, just telling me how much they cared about me as a customer and wanted to earn my loyalty. I figured if that was true, why am I the one jumping through the hoops? Shouldn't the companies be coming and meeting me on a platform that I've chosen to be on, that's seamless, that's unified? So being an overambitious 19-year-old college student, I figured how hard could it be, and ended up dropping out after my sophomore year to start the business and iterated for the first couple of years to figure out the technology. And then in 2017, we actually launched the Fetch Rewards app, and really all of the scaling has been since then. But we've always had this relentless focus on how do we provide consumers an easy, fun way to feel like they're getting rewarded for the decisions that they're making every day and the dollars that they're spending.
So let's get to the core user experience with Fetch. What are users doing? What is the actions that they're taking? How are they being rewarded and how are they applying those rewards?
Yeah, so I mean, as I mentioned, ease was always the focus that we had. We wanted it to be super easy regardless of where the consumer lived and how they chose to shop. So when a consumer first downloads the app, all we're asking them to do is submit transactions. Now they can do that by either taking a picture of a physical receipt from any retailer across the country, or they can connect their digital accounts. So think pulling in transactions from like Amazon, Instacart, DoorDash, any of those different online transactions can also be pulled in. And then our promise to the customer is that we're going to reward you every time you do that, period. That's simple. You're going to get Fetch points for doing that. However, we'll then go out and partner with different, it started with CPG manufacturers, but then extended to retailers. Now we work with restaurants, gas. We go out there and partner with them, and you can earn incrementally more as you shift your spend towards those companies that are issuing more Fetch points for purchasing with them. All of these points are kind of aggregated together, so you're not having to just focus on earning in one specific category where you spend a small fraction of your overall household expenditures on an annual basis. You can now earn across all of it, and you can turn around and redeem those for hundreds of things, everything from virtual gift cards, you can donate them to charity, you can enter into sweepstakes, buy virtual goods, buy physical goods, all kinds of different things. At the end of the day, we just want our consumers to find something that they find intrinsically motivating, and then we want to help them find ways of earning more points to get there as fast as possible.
Okay, so I mentioned in the opening that you're quickly approaching 20 million monthly active users. What drove that explosive growth? What about the CX? What about the entire experience do you think contributes to the actual growth of the user base in such a rapid rate?
Yeah, so if you look across both iOS or Android, I mean, we have over 3 million 5-star ratings. And across those ratings, the consistent theme that you will hear is, man, this is easy to use.
Yeah.
This is fun. I feel good. No one ever likes watching, as you swipe your card, your bank account going down. That's not fun. But what is fun is being able to feel like you did something smart afterwards that gave you a little something back. So we lean heavily into that. And then what happened, which kind of surprised us, was consumers liked that so much and felt smart that they started to tell their friends and family about it. So today, over 75% of all of our consumers came through either organic, people just searching what are easy ways to save additional money, to referrals. So friend telling friend, hey, did you know about this app? It can save you money. You should check it out. So a combination of those two is actually the main growth engine for the past 5 years that has allowed us to scale this far, this fast. And the exciting part is it's only strengthening on those two channels right now. So even though we have a very large base, the absolute ads that we have each month continue to grow. So we're very fortunate, and that also means that we're very beholden to delivering an amazing experience to consumers who get bored of things very quickly. So it gives us job security that we have to go and deliver a better and better product.
Now, I've referred quite a number of friends, and I know when I do that, I get a bunch of points too. I have to imagine that that particular methodology has been very cost effective from a customer acquisition standpoint for Fetch.
Look, I am happy to pay our consumers for being the word of mouth that they are versus having to pay through a channel that doesn't actually benefit the end consumer. So I think what Fetch is all about is putting the relationship closer to the end consumer. We put our money where our mouth is by using that as our #1 growth channel.
Okay, so brand manufacturers and now increasingly retailers and restaurants have been an integral part of funding the journey for these rewards that you're offering. What are the key value propositions of Fetch's closed loop promotion platform that has attracted, retained, and frankly substantially grown the investment of so many recognizable scaled companies? What makes these different, your solution, from so many other mechanisms that they've seen in the past?
Yeah, I think it's a couple different facets. One, you talked about closed loop, and the important part about that is our average monthly active users submitting 28 transactions per month. And that's over $14,000 per year per household that we're able to capture. So when you have a closed loop environment and we have very good retention of consumers, you're then able to actually watch over time, does this investment up front to potentially change behavior actually lead to a profitable, sustained, repeatable action from that consumer? Or did it just create a one-time behavior and then they switch back to whatever they were doing before? So I think what a lot of our partners get excited about is this gives them the visibility and the ownership over the ability to measure that in a way that actually measures at a household level, not a specific channel, not a specific store. It is truly at the household level. And that's where you can unlock, is this investment something that is accretive to our portfolio in the long haul based upon a lifetime value of a consumer? Or is it something that's just a one-time flash in the pan but reverts back to normal behavior? I think that's the key thing that our partners continue to see as like the exciting part of the platform.
And I know you've mentioned me in the past. As I understand it, it's a completely mobile digital platform, and yet roughly 90% of the purchasing behavior you're capturing from your users is coming from physical retail, which is frankly where most sales are still occurring. In all the excitement about omnichannel, the fact of the matter is it's really still brick and mortar where the sales are, and you're actually capturing that. So you're really getting a great picture, a very accurate picture of what their omnichannel purchasing behavior is, yes?
Yeah. Attribution has always plagued industry where the majority of sales happens in the physical world, because how do you interpret something that may take place online, an impression, some sort of impact to what's happening in the physical stores, especially when, again, across our average households that we see, they shop 11 different channels per quarter. So you're talking about a very diverse set of trips that you're going to be able to have attribution over, and 90% of them physical. So the only way that we found to be able to solve that problem is get the consumer engaged in it, get them a part of the process, and that's what they are by submitting those transactions. They give us the ability to have that holistic view and then have the attribution for our partners.
So people in the audience here have probably figured out by now we're one of the only sessions at AdWeek not talking about connected TV. But I do want to talk about the cookieless world, because that's still a very important topic. We had a little bit of a false start a couple of years ago, but we're moving in that direction. Can you talk to us about how, to a great degree, Fetch is insulated from the impact that a cookieless world will have for brands, retailers, and whatnot, being able to track shopping behavior through your platform?
Yeah, our whole perspective has been we wanted the consumer to be a part of it, to get rewarded for being a part of the ecosystem, for it to be transparent, and for it to be user-directed. So the data that we are collecting is being directed every time from our consumer. So we're not reliant on a third-party technology like a cookie to then behind the scenes try to track whether or not an impression actually led to an incremental sale. And even then, it falls over when that only works online. How do you then combine it over to what's happening in a physical store, let alone how it changes across multiple ones? So for us, the cookieless shift, we were totally fine with. If anything, we actually think it's good that the industry is moving that way from a consumer lens, because they should be a part of the creation of value. And that's what we're trying to do, is put power in that consumer's hand to be a part of it, while still moving the outcomes, the desired business outcomes that our partners have, which is to generate more profitable sales.
So let's talk about those outcomes and the profitability. Measurement's going to be key to your clients. What is at the core of Fetch's measurement approach that tells these clients of yours that they're actually getting real return on their investment?
So I mentioned earlier, one of the key things was just the breadth of the data that we have across a very scaled consumer base that's growing rapidly. So what that breadth of data enables you to do is actually go towards what the gold standard of measurement has been for industries like pharmaceutical industries, which is true test and control, where you can limit the amount of variables that you're introducing. You can say, hey, of our 18 million consumers, you want to go after these 2 million, and say, perfect, randomly sample from those 2 million, 50,000 people that will not receive the offer even though they're fully eligible for it, and they're going to continue with their behavior, submitting all the transactions because we have lots of other offers available for them. Then you can actually measure what was the difference between the 1.95 million people who were exposed to the offering versus those 50,000 at a level that's statistically relevant. What's interesting is a lot of the times our control groups are actually larger than the largest panel sets in America, and it's just our control group.
Amazing.
So I think, we just want to help. That rigor we think our partners appreciate, because it really enlightens what works and doesn't work. And lo and behold, not everything works. Go figure. So this kind of enables us to, just as often when something's not working, learn from it, iterate, and move towards something that's actually long-term profitable. So I think that knowledge is what's very freeing about it. But that's how we do it. It's all about test and control on every measurement and every program that we run.
And the feedback you're getting from your clients on the rigor that you've established is strong?
Super excited, yeah. And then also, how do we compare this to others? So it's a mixture of how do we go and play in the traditional ways of measuring, mixed media models, ROAS, all kinds of different ways that you can slice and dice it, while also being grounded in this more rigorous form, and then trying to bridge the gap. How do we challenge, a lot of the people providing solutions to this space to move towards that? Because if we all agree that's the gold standard, it's what cured polio, how do we move more things towards that level? And we're still at the early stages, but I think there's excitement that it can actually move in that direction for the first time ever, because the data set's available to do it.
Curing polio, okay.
Test and control.
I like it. I love it. Okay, so we talked about Fetch working with brands, with retailers, with restaurants. I want to focus in on the brand aspect, brand manufacturing. Several of your brand partners have so embraced Fetch that they've even gone so far as to build clubs within the Fetch app. Notably, Kimberly-Clark's Huggies, which had a well-established standalone CRM program, closed it down, folded it into Fetch, and then since that point, both PepsiCo and General Mills have launched clubs. What is so attractive about Fetch's platform that they would feel comfortable about building that type of a program inside of your app? What is the appeal?
Yeah, so I think there's 2 points there. The first one, using the Huggies example. So they had been running that program for about a decade. And what they encountered is the same problem that the majority of loyalty programs that brands had introduced before run into. They get great adoption. Lots of people sign up for the programs, but retention of those consumers plummets. It's very hard to maintain a consumer in there, because you have to be spending so much of your disposable income on that one specific brand or even partner, or like 10 brands, to earn something meaningful, which means the people who you end up retaining long term are your best customers. So you then all of a sudden start subsidizing your best 10 or 15% of customers, because they were the only ones spending enough to get there. So when we kind of looked at that side by side, we compared, and at this time Fetch was much smaller. We only had maybe 6 or 7 million people. But even at that scale, we had more diaper buyers And diaper buyers that weren't just their best customers, that were in the Fetch ecosystem, then their program had over 10 years, after 10 years of being run. So right away for them, it was a no-brainer. Not only could they provide a solution that still benefited their best customers, but now all of a sudden they could reach the long tail, the other 80% of the consumers, actually the entire category of diaper buyers, and start influencing them over time. And then when you see someone like a PepsiCo or General Mills with Pepsi Tasty Rewards and Good Rewards for General Mills, what they're doing is they're basically saying, hey, Fetch has a very large population of 18 million consumers. There are a subset of consumers that want a deeper relationship with those. Like in PepsiCo's example, they have not only do they have custom rewards for consumers, they have recipes, they have other content that's available. So by a consumer double opting in basically, so they've already signed up for Fetch, they don't have to re-sign up, they just have to opt into the program, they now get access to incremental content and offers, and they've self-selected as basically saying, hey, I'm one of your loyalists. And now they can create that custom solution for a couple million people who raise their hand while still actually activating against all 18 million consumers that may not be that loyal yet, but over time, maybe we get them there. So that's what you're seeing. It's a bifurcated way of being able to go towards the market and be able to, just like airlines, kind of price the market differently depending on who the consumer is and their preferences. So that's what we enabled through clubs.
So I mentioned the 20 million monthly active users. I'm sure you have quite a number of other stats that tend to impress the advertisers that are coming to Fetch. What do you see as being some of those salient data points that are attracting more and more brands? I keep seeing more appear on the app almost every week.
Yeah, so with 18 million monthly active users, and as you said, growing very quickly towards 20, with them submitting 28 receipts per month, what's shocking is that actually leads us to having 6 million daily active users. So that ratio of monthly active to daily active is the best in the shopping category.
Can you give me a comparison? Like, what does that match up against?
Starbucks, who I think has one of the best loyalty programs out there by any standalone brand, has like 3.4 million daily active.
You're like almost 2.5 bigger than Starbucks.
Yeah.
At this point. Wow.
Exactly, and it just goes to show that there's this mass appeal. We even have fewer downloads than them. So we just have really good retention and really good conversion to daily active usage from a monthly active because you can use it on any transaction. So that's a really key one, but at 28 receipts per month, if you actually think about the total receipts submitted in a monthly period, we're actually capturing over $135 billion worth of GMV on an annual basis.
That's gross merchandise value.
Gross merchandise value. Okay. So that's the equivalent of the 5th largest retailer in the U.S. by dollars we capture.
And you're omnichannel. So you are.
That's physical and online.
Wherever your users choose to shop, you capture it.
Exactly. And if you actually look at the retention curves that we have, plus the growth rate that we're seeing, the macro trends are actually kind of helping us accelerate right now. People are thinking, how do I save money really easily as times are getting harder? We see a path that will allow us to actually being north of $400 billion in GMV, which would be the largest single channel in the US of capture. And that would be across 40 million plus monthly active users. So that's kind of the ambition and the goal of where we want to go over the next 2 years, because we think that will enable a lot more abilities for our partners to actually move the needle on national sales.
Okay. I've heard in prior discussions you talking about the fact that your users have, through their purchasing behavior, led you to enter other vertical channels and to drive the prioritization of feature development. Can you elaborate on how this has transpired?
Yeah, I was talking with an entrepreneurship class yesterday, and I told them the story of sometimes the customer is just truly right, and you design a product in a silly way that doesn't make sense. So early on, we would only accept receipts that were coming from grocery, convenience, drug, mass, like those channels, because we were like, that's where we thought the value was. And whenever someone would try to submit a receipt from, say, McDonald's, we would put a big red X on screen, and it would literally say, you can't do this. And then at some point we kind of said, wait, why are we, if they're telling us that's what they want to do, then we should just allow it. So all of a sudden we allowed people to start submitting from anywhere. And lo and behold, now we're capturing tens of billions of dollars of restaurant sales. We are capturing, millions and millions of transactions coming in there. And that's what seeded our ability to go and actually start working with the likes of Burger King, Panera, Papa John's, is the fact that we actually could go into their door and say, we have millions of customers that we know what your stomach share is, and we can help you win incrementally more. So that was one example. Then we followed with gas. We were just looking at the data and said, oh, consumers are spending billions of dollars worth of gas receipts. We should go and get gas partners. So it's truly following along the consumers. And the final one that I'll give as an example is we saw that our user base is actually very representative of the average US household, which means there's a large portion of our consumer base that's first primary language is Spanish. So we decided to make the investment and make the entire platform from end to end, sign up all the way through to support, fully bilingual, and you can set it in Spanish. And we now have over 2 million monthly active users using the app in Spanish. So often our product is truly informed by our consumers' actions versus anything else.
So that means all the content you create that goes into the app, you're doing it in both English and Spanish, so it doesn't
Painfully,
matter.
yes.
So it doesn't
Every
matter
time.
which choice they make there. If they opt in to do Spanish, they're not missing out on anything.
Nope, they get absolutely everything,
Brilliant.
but fully in their own native language.
Would you share with us just a bit about the proof points around the value that brands are getting out of this? Any information you have in terms of like what kind of shares are they experiencing in the app versus the multi-outlet world outside? What are your clients telling you?
Yeah, what we see over time is when a partner first comes in, it's a lot of testing and learning.
Okay.
Because this is a new channel that has basically real-time insights. You can manage the budget in real time. You can iterate very quickly. Often when we run a promotion, it's actually like A through F level of testing. Your offer might be different than my offer because we just have different, propensities for a category of what we're willing to spend based upon what we're saving. So a lot of the initial engagements is about testing that, figuring out for each category what is the price elasticity, what works, what doesn't work. And then what we see partners start to do is optimize over time things that are going to sustainably help them with increasing share, and they can track that over time. They can see that they're generating incremental share lift across these consumers. They can then see that that's incrementally driving more profit because the amount that they have to reward over time actually decreases to still maintain the same behavior. And they can do this in a closed loop environment where they have really good tracking and always a control group to compare against. So those are some of the key things that they're looking at. But at our current scale, what's exciting is a lot of our partners actually feel the results in their national reporting. So they can run a promotion that is targeted at a specific retailer, maybe it's targeted at a specific product that's not turning, and all of a sudden you walk to a store and it can be sold out. So you can see the proof in the physical world of all of the consumers that are engaging. There's not an airport I can walk through with a Fetch jacket and not get stopped now. The people are out there, so you're definitely feeling that that scale now as well beyond just all those other key metrics.
And as you grow your user base, their performance goes along with it. So if they're experiencing better than average share within this closed loop environment, as you grow your user base, the dollars associated with that share grow.
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons why a lot of our partners will actually be highlighting Fetch in their go-to-market strategies and say, hey, if you're on Fetch, these special offers are available to you. Huggies, as an example, pushes lots of consumers our ways. But across a lot of our partners, we do that, where you may even see in-store merchandising that talks about Fetch. The reason why our partners are willing to do that is because they see the scale benefits and continues to see the same, results even as we grow.
Did I understand that Kimberly-Clark and their Huggies brands is going to be advertising about downloading Fetch on their actual packaging going forward?
Yep, coming out soon.
Phenomenal. So Fetch is preparing, from what I understand, to release a self-served ad management platform to help companies and agencies of all size use Fetch and engage its users. Why have you introduced Mission Control? That's the name you've called it. And what do you think? Why do you think it'll be wildly attractive to this audience?
Yeah, we say it's one giant leap for brand kind. We think what's fun about it is it's harnessing the power of everything that we've been talking about, all of this data. It's making it available in real time in a platform that is at the same quality of the world-class app that we built for our consumers, but now also available for our partners so that they can be able to log in and control and understand what's going on in the marketplace in real time across 18 million plus consumers and growing very quickly. So that's everything from figuring out what type of campaigns to run, seeing how a campaign's actively going. If you have a problem that occurs at one region of your stores, or maybe your brand isn't moving in one place, without even having to pick up the phone, being able to just log in, quickly solve the problem yourself, and then see it in the share results. We've heard time and time again that real-time feedback loop is what's unique and missing, because a lot of the times other channels will take weeks of planning to actually get something in market. But as we know, problems can arise very rapidly. So we need something that is real-time, that enables them to activate this 18 million plus customers in real time.
What's your growth trajectory both here in the US, and when should we expect to see Fetch branching out of the United States?
Well, so you heard me talking earlier that, at our current growth trajectory that we're on with our retention curves, we think it is in the art of the possible to be at 45, 50 million monthly active users over the next 2.5 years.
Wow.
That is certainly the ambition that we have, and based upon how representative our consumer base is, we think the total market can absolutely support the consumer base getting to that scale. And at that level, again, that's north of 400, close to $500 billion worth of, GMV that we'd be capturing and influencing, which I just think mean there will be more partners issuing points. The flywheel keeps going. Consumers get more value. They stick on it better. So it starts to build on itself. I think you looking at what we did with Spanish is obviously a tip of our hand that we're very interested. We don't think the phenomenon of wanting an easy, fun way to save money is unique to the US.
No.
That is something that probably exists in a lot of different markets. So I think in the coming years, you'll absolutely see us following a lot of our partners who are asking us to go to additional markets where we can enable this one-to-one connection with the end consumer.
Wes, what's the best way for companies that are interested in investigating this phenomenon? How can they get in touch with Fetch?
Simplest way is always just on our website. The partners, .fetchrewards.com is going to enable you to just, reach out. Someone from our team will connect, and then we'll be able to dive into the data and see what we can work and do together.
Wes, thanks for joining me today to tell us about the phenomenon that's going on at Fetch Rewards. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.